Good morning, grade 9 students, and welcome to English 9. So today, we will be talking about, this will just serve as a review for you because I believe you have already gone through this in your grade 7 and grade 8. But don't worry, this is just a refresher. And if you have not learned this is a good time for you to learn. Okay? So what are poems? We're talking about poems, but you don't know what poems are. What are poems? Okay? So let's go with our definition of poems. Poems are a group of words. Of course, there will be no poems without words, right? Group of words that are written to express or draw out emotion, paint a picture, or give a sense of beauty. Okay? And poems are written with breaks and the lines of text to create a certain sound. Not like the prose that we have read, kana mga stories, kana mga novels, nga sentence, yeah? In poems, we have the breaks, di ba? Like, move to the next line. So that's a break, okay? And it gives you a certain sound. And poem has a beat, a rhythm, and sometimes it rhymes. So nasa beat, nasa rhythm ang poem. But, napod siya rhyme. But not all poems have rhymes, okay? Always remember that. Not all poems have rhymes. So, if we want to know the poem, we should know its elements as well. Dapat makabaluta unsay mga elements sa poem. So here are the elements of poems. As you can see here, we have the persona, we have the theme, we have the tone, we have the imagery, we have the structure, and we have the sound devices. Okay? For the purpose of our video today, you will be learning the first four in the first half of this video. And in the second half, we will be discussing the structure. The sound devices, however, will be discussed in a separate video from Khan Academy. So make sure you check it out in our LMS. Okay, so let's get started with the elements of poetry. So the first element that we will be talking about is the persona. And the persona is the one speaking in the poem. Or in other words, mura bitaw siya ka ng narrator. But that is in the poem. That is in the short story novels. But here, we call it in poems as the persona. Now, it may not be necessarily be the author of the poem. Dili gid nga ang author mao gid ang persona. The persona may be another person. So, for example, mag-write kog poem pero I am personifying an old man. So, the persona of the poem will be the old man and not the author. Do you get me? Okay? So very easy lang persona. Persona is the one talking in the poem. Our next element is what we call the tone. Okay? The tone is how the author, the attitude of the author towards the writing of the poem. Through the use of his words, kung yun sa niya paggamit ay mga words, o ang iyang writing style. So we can know the attitude of the author through the choice of words na iyang gibutang sa poem o iyang writing style. Okay? So, mura ni siya og bitaw murag tono sa voice tono sa author. Mura siya tono sa author. So when the author is kanang using kanang mga heavy words, so mura ka makaingon nga hala kanang maybe the author is sad or or kanang disappointed, you know. Those words you can see that one that will determine the choice of words of the author will determine his tone. Okay, but don't worry, if you can see in your LMS there is the 155 words to describe tone. Okay, I'm not expecting you to memorize those, but what I am asking you is just to read it and familiarize yourself with the different kinds of tones that we will be possibly nga makita nato in our future kanang future literature endeavors or ato mga exercises. Okay? So mao na siya ang tone. Remember, the tone is the of course the tone of the author sa iyang pag-write, and we will know the tone of the author pinaagi sa iyang writing style o pinaagi sa iyang choice of words. Okay? So let's go to our next element. Our next element is what we call the theme. Now, the theme is the central message of the poem, or what the poem tries to convey to you, the readers. So for example, if I am writing about something, like for example, I am writing about love. The theme cannot be love. Okay? A theme should be a one sentence. So for example, lahi man og kanang theme ang love. For example, kanang love casts all fear, or for example, kanang unrequited love is, it's painful. Nana. So that is the theme. What is the idea or the main message that the author or the poet wants to convey to his readers? Okay? So it may be a story, or it may be a thought, or it may be a description of something or someone. Anything that the poem is all about. Okay? So remember, theme is the central message or the message that the poet wants to convey to the readers. Now, let us go with our next element, which is the imagery. Okay? Dili image tree, but imagery. Okay? Imagery. You can see the spelling here. Yeah. Okay? So imagery is the use of words to convey vivid, concrete, sensory experiences. Talk about vivid experiences. Murag ikaw nga nagbasa ka sa poem because of imagery, it seems like nga mura na pugkag naa sa poem because of the imagery being used by the poet. Sir Kevin, what is imagery? Okay, let me ask you. When we say imagery, what comes in your mind? O, diba? What comes in your mind is images, diba? But not all of the time. Nga, images ra pud ang naa. Remember, we have 5 senses. What are those 5 senses? Una na ang sense of sight, imagery. Ang kanang images. And we have the sense of hearing. We have the sense of taste. We have the sense of smell. And we have the sense of touch. So those are the senses, and when a poet, invokes or kanang gamiton niya atong mga senses para maka-experience ta sa unsay ma-experience, the poem becomes much more meaningful, becomes much more kanang powerful to the readers. Kita kag poem nga murag okay man about siya love. But when an author writes a poem and then nasa imagery, it tells you that a broken heart is shattered, Ayun, ana, and when a heart breaks, it smashes across the room and the breaking resounds, makadungog pala ka ana ng mga words, makaingon na ka nga, hala, uy, kasakit di ay sa mga heartbroken. Diba? And that is the purpose of imagery. It puts you in the poem. It helps you. It creates images for you para maka-experience ka sa kung unsay gusto ipa-experience sa reader sa imuha. Okay, what are these images, Sir Kevin? Unsa rin mga images? Now, let's go with the 5 senses, okay? The 5 senses, we have the sense of sight, okay? So these are what we call the visual imagery. Visual imageries are so vivid. They seem to come to life in the reader's mind when they are read. Okay, so mura sid basa pa lang niya, makita na niya kung unsa, like for example, makita niya unsay color sa sunset because the author was very good in playing with the words and describing the sunset, So that is visual imagery. And we have the auditory imagery, sense of hearing. So katong nabuak, it crashed, it smashed across the room. So that's an auditory imagery. Makadungog ka nga ni bundak ang kasing nabuak ang kasing-kasing kay hindi ka pala crush mo. Di ba? Nag-love life na ta. First week pa gani siya, nag-love life na ka. Magyud na. Kay students get to become more what they call this, more engaged in the lesson, basta gugma na hisgutan, di ba? Sakto ko or sakto si sir? Di ba? So that is what we call the auditory imagery. So we have the visual, we have the auditory, and next we have the olfactory, the sense of smell. Madunggan, masimutan pa lang ninyo, if, for example, if I'm going to make a poem and the poem is going to be about bulad, and parat ang bulad, pero mas parat ang dili ka, mas parat ang feeling if naa ka dira pero wala ka gitagad. You invoke sense of smell so that makarelate ang inyong reader sa imuha. We have the tactile or the physical physical imagery. Okay, so maka-touch ka mo, inigsuwat niya sa poem or inigbasa niya sa poem, maka-feel good mo sa kung rough ba siya or smooth ba siya ang na-experience sa reader, because the reader is good in writing or in using imagery in his poems. Okay, so remember those 5. We have the auditor. We remember the 5 senses. So kato siya, use that. The author may use that one to invoke certain images or certain experience sa atua as the reader. Okay. So right now, I want you to take a 5-minute break. Okay, 5-minute break. You pause the video. You pause this video, and then you drink water or you eat some snacks, because we are going to go to the more technical part of a poem. Okay, so make sure you take that break, and then once you're ready, you just play the video. Okay, so you're done with your break. Let's go with our technical side, or the kind of complicated side of the elements of poetry, which is what we call the structure. Giunsa pagbuhat ang poetry, the structure of the poem. And there are terms that you need to know. Okay, so here are the terms that you need to know. We have the meter, you have the foot, you have the line, and you have the stanza. Okay, so these are the terms that you need to be familiar with. Okay, now let's go with the meter. Now, a meter is a systematic rhythm or sound pattern that is usually identified by determining the type of foot and the number of feet. Hala, Sir Kevin, ngano ang poem na amay tiil? Nganong na amay feet ang poem? That's not what we're talking about. Dili na mao. Okay? So it's a different thing. It's a different thing. There is what we call a feet in poetry. And that is what we're going to learn next. Okay? But remember, meter is the systematic rhythm. So in a poem na they say rhythm. Diba? I know, I'm not sure if you have experienced this one, but in high school, namin ka na mga clap-clap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Diba? There is like that. And that is what we call the rhythm. Okay? And there is also rhythm in poetry, but sometimes dili na to matagad kay we think that it's not important. But rhythm makes poetry much more better. So, unsa di ay ni ang type of foot and number of feet, Sir Kevin? Okay, so let's go. Let's determine the feet. Unsa di ni feet? A feet is a traditional line of metered poetry containing a number of rhythmical units. Usually 2 or 3 syllables di siya. Okay? So, there is 2 or 3 syllables, that's 1 feet. There's a 2 or 3 syllables, that's another feet. 2 or 3 syllables, that's another feet. Okay? Now, it is designated according to the number of syllables contained. So, pila ka syllables ang naadara, maybe 2 or maybe 3. And if the syllables are stressed or unstressed. Now, I'm sure you talked about stressed and unstressed syllables when you were in grade 7 and grade 8. And I really hope that you did. But if wala, don't worry, you're gonna take a crash course today. Okay, so unsa na ang stressed and unstressed syllables. Now, let's go to the type of feet. But before we go to the type of feet, for the purpose of this discussion, or for this lesson, we're going to use this symbols. So we have here the unstressed syllable or the dash, and the stressed syllable, which is the forward slash. Okay, the forward slash. So mao na tong gamiton para sa ato ang discussion karon. Therefore, in each foot, sa kada usa ka foot, na ay 2 to 3 syllables with a constant beat pattern. Okay, so unsa na ini ang mga beat pattern? What are these beat patterns? Okay, let's go to our discussion of the beat patterns. Okay, for our first kanang rhythmic pattern or our beat pattern, we have what we call the iamb or the iamb foot. Okay, iamb foot starts with a weak or unstressed syllable followed by a strong or a stressed syllable. So yun ani ni siya. If you can see, there's a line of the poem here below me. So I want you to read that one. Nga magsugod mo og weak syllable, per syllable inyong pagbasa ha, per syllable. And then strong. Weak, strong, weak, strong. Unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Okay? So you read the poem and I will wait. You pause the video, you try to read, and let's see if sakto ba inyong pagbasa. Are you done reading? Okay, then let's see if sakto pa atong pagbasa. Let me read it here. I will look down. Okay? So yun na yun siya. It comes from William Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. So yun na yun siya pagbasa. And I do love thee, therefore go with me, and I'll give thee fairies to attend to thee. Okay? Sakto ba? Inyong pagbasa? Atong hinayon kay sir, murag paspas ra kay ka. Okay, atong hinayon og basa. Yun na ni siya. And I do love thee, therefore go with me. So unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed. Okay? So yun na siya. And I do love thee, therefore go with me. And I'll give thee fairies to attend to thee. Okay, so yun na siya ha. That is what we call the I am foot. Now, let's try to read these lines. Nga bali. Mag-una ang strong syllable, dayon weak syllable. Stressed, unstressed. So, may na siya. And I do love thee, therefore go with me. I'll give thee fairies to attend to thee. So, dili siya mo. It's wrong, di ba? Therefore, this line here, over here, is an iambic foot. Okay? So, iamb ang gigamit nga pattern. Okay? Now, let's go to the next pattern. What we call the Trochee or the Trochaic Foot. A strong syllable. Ano ni ganiha? Katotong giswayan. A strong syllable followed by a weak syllable. So, we have an example here. If you can see, it's from William Shakespeare again, but it comes from a different play entitled Macbeth. So, if you can read it here, if you try to read, okay, and if you pause the video, you try to read it, mag-una ang strong syllable and then weak syllable. So, strong, weak, strong, weak, strong, weak. Okay? Sige, you pause the video and I will wait. Okay, humana. So, unsaon siya pagbasa, bi? Unsaon siya pagbasa? Topple, toil, and trouble, fire, burn, and cauldron, bubble. Diba? So, nanaon siya pagbasa. Dili ita pwede magbasa nga double, trouble. Diba? Double, toil, and trouble. Dili mo. It's wrong. So, we read it like this. Double, toil and trouble, fire burn, and cauldron bubble. Okay. So, okay na. Nakuha na niyo ang Trochee. So, remember, iamb and Trochee. Okay? Para dili mo malibog, inanaon siya. I have a technique which was also taught by my English teacher in college. So, inanin siya. So, ano siya? Iamb, Trochee. So, sa iamb, di ba mag-una ang weak, dayon ang strong syllable. Pag abot sa Trochee, strong syllable ang nag-una, and then nagpadungta sa weak. So, iamb, Trochee. Now, next one, we're going to go to the tulo na ka-syllables. In a foot nga na ay tulo ka-syllables, and we call this one the Anapest or the Anapestic Foot. Okay? Now, what is an Anapestic Foot? Two weak syllables or unstressed syllables followed by a strong syllable. So, unsaon man ni siya? Here it goes. We have an example here. And I want you to try to read duha ka unstressed usa ka stressed syllable. Try to read kuno be. Mana? Nabasa na ninyo? Okay, so how do we read it? Okay, here it goes. It was the night before Christmas. When all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. Okay? So, atong hinayon na Sir Kevin. Paspasa ni mo Sir Kevin. Oy, atong hinayon. Hinayon ni siya. 'Twas the night before Christmas when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. So duha ka unstressed, usa ka stressed. Okay? So yun na siya ang Anapestic Foot. And of course, if we are going to read it na atong balihon, na mag-una atong strong syllable, dayon mag-una atong strong syllable, and then mag-weak syllable ta, it would sound bad. 'Twas the night before Christmas. Oh, dili na mo. It's not the right way to read it. Therefore, unsa day ang counterpart ani? So we have the I am Trochee, we have the Anapest, and lastly, we have the Dactyl. Okay? A dactyl or the dactylic foot is a strong syllable followed by two weak syllables. So unsaon siya pagbasa? So mag-una ang strong and then followed by two weak syllables. So I have a line here again, and I want you to try to read the poem and try to read the lines using the dactylic foot. Usa ka strong syllable followed by two weak syllables. Pause the video and I will wait for you. Are you done? Okay, so let's try. Let's try reading the lines. Una ang strong and then followed by two weak syllables. So, just for a handful of silver he left us, just for a riband of stick on his coat. Okay, so this is from the Lost Leader. The Lost Leader from Robert Browning. The previous one, the previous line that we read a while ago was from Clement Clark Moore, entitled A Visit from St. Nicholas. Okay, so anyway, I just forgot to mention the title. Okay, so yun na naon sa pagbasa ang dactylic. Mag-una ang strong syllable followed by a weak syllable. Two weak syllables. So di ba before di anak ko ninyo na naatay sign sa I am Trochee, na naputay Anapest, Dactyl. So una tag I am Trochee, weak syllable, strong syllable, Trochee, strong syllable, weak syllable, Anapest, weak syllable, strong syllable, and Dactyl, strong syllable, weak syllable, weak syllable. So yun na siya. I am Trochee, Anapest, Dactyl. Oh, di ba? So mas dali ninyo siya hinumduman when we have our test. Okay? So remember that I am Trochee, Anapest, and Dactyl. Now, after determining the rhythmic pattern or the pattern, the beat pattern, we go to the number of feet. Pila ka po feet? Now, di ba I told you, a feet is the group of 2 or 3 syllables, and that's what we talked about ganiha with our I am Trochee, and Anapest, and Dactyl. Mao to siya ang mga feet. Now, ihapon na to pila ka buok feet ang naa in one line, and we get the number of feet. And if you can see here on my right side, your left side, makita ninyo ang number of feet. Okay, so you have 1 feet, it's a monometer. If it's 2 feet, it's a dimeter. If it's 3 feet, it's trimeter. If it's 4 feet, it's a tetrameter. If it's 5 feet, it's pentameter. And if it's 6 feet, it's hexameter. So ihapon na gito ninyo pila ka buok grupo sa stress o unstressed in one line, and then you will determine unsa ang poem, unsa yung number of feet sa line of the poem. Okay? Now let's try some exercise. Okay? Let's try some exercise. So we have these examples. In your katotong mga previous examples, and I want you to determine unsa siya. We already know the pattern. So you know already the I am Trochee, Anapest, and Dactyl, but now atong sumpayan with the number of feet. Kung pila ang feet niya in one line. Okay? So let's start with number 1. And I do love thee, therefore go with me. Okay? So pila ka buok unsa siya? Is it an I am Trochee, Anapest, or Dactyl? Okay, so it is a I am. But pila ka buok feet niya? Ihapa ninyo pila ka buok feet. And I, that's 1. Do love, that's 2. The there, that's 3. Forgo, that's 4. And 5, with me. So that is 5. Pila man kabog? If it's 5 feet, pila man kabog? According to our list, it is a pentameter. So atong i-combine, atong i-apple pen si iamb ug si pentameter, it becomes iambic pentameter. Okay? Ay na siya. That's it. It's an iambic pentameter. Now let's go to the second one. Double, 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 toil and trouble. Okay. So what unsa man ni siya? Iamb, trochee, anapest, or dactyl? Okay, so this is a very good. This is a trochee. But pila man kabuk feet ang naa in one line? Iha pa. You count. Sige ko no. Double, 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 toil and trouble. Pila kabuk? How many are there? Okay, very good. There are 4 feet, therefore. So, i-combine na to si trochaic or si trochee, di ba? Trochaic o si, pila man kabuk ang 4? 4 ka feet. It's a, okay, very good. It's a tetrameter. So, i-combine na to ang duha. Bang! And it is a trochaic tetrameter. Our third example was the night before Christmas when all through the house. Unsa man ni siya? So this is what we call a what? Okay, I want you to pause the video. You think unsa man siya? Okay, very good. So unsa man siya? What is this line about? What is the pattern and the number of feet? Unsa man siya? It's a what? It's a Anapest. Okay, very good. It's an Anapest and it is a tetrameter. Kay upat man ka buok ka feet. So, Anapestic tetrameter, Anapestic tetrameter. And lastly, we go to our last example. Just a handful of silver he left us. Unsa man siya? Okay, you know that it is a what? It is a... Okay, I want you to think. Pause the video. Think unsa siya. Unsa ang type of pattern, and unsa ang pila ka buok ang number of feet. Okay, you have an answer already. So it is a what? It is a, okay, very good. It is a dactylic tetrameter. Okay, so mauna ang ato ang structure of a poem. But there's also other structures that you need to know. Like for example, we have the line and stanza. Kaya instead, in prose or in kanang mga stories, novels na inyong mabasa, we write it through sentences. But in poem, we write it through lines. Magamit ta og mga lines. Okay? And these groups of lines, kung ato na i-grupo sila, this is what we call a stanza. Okay? Remember that lines make a poem, poems, and a group of poems is made of a group of poems is what we call a stanza. Okay? And stanzas are separated by an empty line. So when you write a poem and you want to go to another stanza, you have a blank line. Okay? So you have here the number of the names of the stanzas if naa siya ingon ani nga number. So for example, if your stanza only has 2 lines, we call that one a couplet. If it's 3 lines, it's what we call a tercet. If it's 4 lines, we call that one a quatrain. For 5 lines, it's what we call a quintet. For 6 lines, it's a sestet. 7 lines is a septet. And then 8 lines is what we call an octave. Okay? So, I hope you write that down in your notes, and I hope that you are going to remember this one. Okay? So, that ends our video today. Make sure to watch another video that I sent to you through our LMS on the sound devices that you are going to learn together with the elements of the poem. It's still part of the elements of a poem, but I found a good video which you will be watching, and I hope that you are going to learn that video as well. Okay? And make sure you read you answer our next activity after you watch all the videos, this one and also the other one. make sure you answer the activities. Okay? So thank you everyone. God bless, and I hope you'll have fun time learning with English.